Yeah, used to I felt that because I can draw, I can paint, and then maybe I'm good at it. But later on, I find out that there's other more profound purpose for painting. I don't know how much I can impact the society, but I want to just make my contribution to the positive social change.
Incredible. This is so detailed, so complex. What's the title of this piece?
This is one of the 5 pieces, 5 capital executions in China. And this specific piece is about starvation, one of the tortures and execution practiced prior to middle of the 20th century.
Is this historically accurate?
It's not a historical event.
The event
it doesn't, but however, it is a fictional combination of the execution with daily life.
This whole process of a hanging piece of art that's soft, is there information in the banner or on the side pieces here? Is there more than just the picture that we're looking at?
Of course, you're talking about unrolling a scroll.
Yes.
That's more like a Eastern practice, and it relates to Chinese painting, scroll painting, but also is very practice of the with a cotton cloth border and then ribbons, and as well as curtain, more related to Tibetan Buddhist painting called tanka.
What then are the ribbons on the side that looks like some Chinese character, or what's going on there?
That is image of Lao Tzu. Each of the painting I print one of the influential Chinese figure on the ribbon, reflect the ideas they shape the Chinese history.
One other thing I noticed, there's some sort of patterning. I see a light and dark thing happening there. It looks like letters or shapes.
It's a superimposed silk screen image, and this is print over, superimposed on top of the painting.
Of what?
Reflect an image of a Chinese Triton-shaped weapon 3,000 years ago. 3,000 years ago, they excavated in 1967, was used for the king, for symbolize the war and authority, as well as oppression.
Okay, so that's not decorative.
That's not great.
That's part of the message.
Part of the message is talking about that kind of history full of the brutality. We have to see through the overall, the history through that device. They both obscure and define the history.
Were people actually tortured in the way that I see here, with their heads in the pillory?
Yes. Yes.
Wow. Yes. And this is a typical dining scene?
Dining scene. I intentionally put northern food, southern food together, so there were no kind of the southern Chinese or northern Chinese.
Oh, really? There are other subtleties here. But we would never see people dining next to an execution. That's an oddity.
Well, the artist's responsibility draw the relationship to define what do we practice in the society. Sometimes we compartmentalize one thing from another, but evidently we didn't know we actually doing the same thing together.
if you could, show me where you start. Let me see what it looks like at the beginning, because I think we all want to see how you start this process. When did you start drawing? Where did you learn to draw?
Oh, well, that's why I went to school for.
What school?
China National Academy, and in southern China, and the oldest art school in China, and was founded by Chinese education minister.
I had no idea that drawing was part of the Asian education and the arts. I thought it was all brush.
All brush, but however, since later 19th century and beginning of the 20th century, number of Western educated artists and scholars championed for aesthetics education in China, and famous one went to Germany, and then went back to China and became Chinese education minister, and then he was head of the academy.
Is that where we get the tractor art, the social realism?
No. He was in 1920s and started a Chinese National Academy, which is called champion the old tradition, but also understand the contemporary issues and merge East and West together for today's people.
Are you a modern artist in the Chinese sense of the word?
I do not know modern or tradition, which way to define, but however, I felt that I care about where people live today and human condition in today's society. I think I have to tell you, after I did this preliminary drawing and then color studies, I will hire a model and then make them to wear clothes, and then I'm going to draw them individually. That's very good.
So this is from a model?
This is all from models.
Wow.
And then...
Geez, that's great.
I'll have to say there were 3 different stages of research. One is I have to do a lot of reading about the execution, that punishment, capital punishment, how practiced in the history of China. And the second stage is try to find out visual references, and then travel to China or read history books, and then go through missionary diaries.
So you kind of immerse yourself in the subject.
You have to. And then next stage is try to put out this composition studies and then hire models.
You see, this really has authenticity written. I mean, there's a sense of authenticity, even though I don't know what I'm looking at.
There's a practice in Western art called fragment realism from Northern painting. And you really need to focus on the small details and then combine those together, make audience to believe, convince the audience that this is real.
Did you learn about the Northern Europeans when you were in China?
Northern European, I was interested, but I really interested in caught my attention when I was in England. So I studied England for 2 years. When I was in London, mainly my work was abstract, and until later on, like Tiananmen Square massacre in 1989, I felt somehow my abstract work
didn't measure up.
No, not really measure up. Almost I have a distance from my fellow countrymen what they were doing inside of China. And so I think democracy is an endeavor. The whole society participated also.
I think you said something very interesting there. Your response to the Tiananmen Square and these paintings is an act of participation.
Make people aware the inhuman treatment of human being. this hand originally was just pushed down from this character to that stomach, to that person's stomach. Was just flat hand, like this angle. And then I felt as number one, maybe it's reasonable, physically possible, and people will accept it easily because push down someone, maybe it's enough. But however, think about the brutal process and the brutality, and I think there's something more charge needed involved or introduced in this thing, and then I changed this instead of a push down hand to a grab this portion of the stomach of the person are in the process of being executed. The passiveness, this person look out, and then his contrast with his hand so vicious, and then taking down someone without thinking about that as a person. With humanity, you look through his eyes. Without humanity, you find out his hand.
This is your underpainting.
Yeah.
Now, did you do this with pencil or charcoal, or what's the
Charcoal.
Charcoal.
Yeah.
See, there's hard charcoal.
No, soft charcoal.
Impossible.
Vine.
Really? Vine?
Vine charcoal.
Like we use in drawing class?
Yes.
How did you keep it so tight? It's incredibly tight.
No, I'm a control freak, so.
I guess. Now, would you normally do a drawing this detailed and then paint on top?
Yes. So every single piece preceded this one. They all have elaborate on the drawing and then paint color
Very
on
elaborate.
top. Yes.
But this is the old world style. This is the way the classical
Yeah,
style, the
classical.
highly complex underdrawing, and then the color added on top.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Zhi, I noticed that you're working with the costuming and the horses at one time. Looks like the faces are left to the last, maybe?
Yes, the reason is I try to get into the situation really to work on the faces. And also I want to everything getting ready for that stage. So normally I will put it like this color study next to it.
Right.
So I will know exactly the range of a color I want it. And then this is a...
Have you done some of the things that are in the pictures? I mean, do you ride the horse or wear the costume or carry the dragon? Have you done any of those things?
Oh, I did it, how do I put it? I took a one year horse riding class.
Incredible.
Because in order to get familiar with the anatomy of the horse, you know how to lead in the horse, how to take care of a horse, recognize the horse,
Wow.
different breed of a horse. And it's the same thing. If you want to draw human, paint a human being, you have to know human anatomy, understand human normal, the range of the activities, and then get familiar, comfortable with it.
We seem to be hovering a little bit over the picture. Mm-hmm. Is that in each of these pictures, there seems to be about the same point of view, as if we're above the image.
There's a reference I use in Chinese called monumental landscape painting.
Monumental landscape painting.
I use that composition for this like bird's eye view, bird's eye view.
Bird's eye view.
Yeah, and but also this has a reference to European religious painting, especially Northern European painting.
So even in your point of view, there's a method, there's a tradition that you're tapping into. These are very well thought out then. Very.
I try to find the convergences between I'm familiar with in China or what I learned in Europe and the culture I come from, East, and then I acquired the knowledge in the West. I still need to find out that more way to make it find the cultural commonality instead of find the cultural diversity.
Is there a message that I'm missing in these? Is there anything besides what I see that's maybe I don't understand yet?
My audience may come off, look at the painting, such as, okay, this is a Chinese issue. This is only related to, unique to Chinese society, but we should not forget this kind of practice happened in Europe. As I referenced in the before said, I find the reference about drawing quartering in Foucault's writing. And in early 20th century, we see lynches all over the South in America. That is a fundamental message I want the people to look at it. Instead of, sometimes people, very easy to blame one kind of inhuman practice to political ideology or religious crusade or one way or another. But the human condition, human drama, and human tragedy, it happened today, happened in the past, and it will happen in the future.
Have you satisfied yourself with this series? What's next for you?
There are so many issues important to us and unique to everybody. And from my point of view, there's certain issues we neglect or overlook in American history. So I work on the transcontinental railway, Chinese workers' unique experience.
1840s?
1860s.
1860s.
Yeah, right after the Civil War, beginning of the Civil War. And then also very unique situation in the Northwest because of the Tacoma anti-Chinese right as well as Seattle. So there's an issue talking about called International District or Chinatown.
Right, that's current.
Yeah, it's current debating right now, but it was Chinatown. And then entire 5,000 Chinese community was expelled on the governor's blessing and sent to the ship down to the Tacoma.
After they were cutting their queues, too.
Cutting their queues, 1886.
Same heroic scale, same size. Is this your standard
yes.
size?
Would be size, but would be horizontal formation instead of a vertical.
Okay. More detailed.
Wore high models and then
higher models.
And actually
costumes.
And then I'll go back to China and collecting visual references. Also, I will travel to California and take train to Utah and the famous golden spider.
Now, are you going to document yourself doing this? I mean, that's the very contemporary thing, to document an artist about doing something.
Myself is not important.
To you, it's not important, except what you internalize.
Yeah, I think my message is more important than show myself.
And does that series have a title yet?
Called Invisible People, because most of those railway workers, they never been documented or never have portraits of them each individually. And unlike every single photo you find it in American railway archives have a name or where the hometown the person came from.
But not the Chinese?
Not Chinese. It's always a learning process. I do not know what kind of difficulty or problems I will encounter. I will execute the project with my professionalism and then get it done right. Whatever it takes, we'll get there and get it right. By the way, I maybe want to tell you, it took me 3 days to fix this person, and because I initially messed up and then tried to recover, make it right, and then it took me 3 days to achieve that, but I fixed it. You won't be able to tell this moment.